Hello crafty friends, this is Julia. Thank you so much for joining me for another card making video. This is my weekly video for Moni's Bastelkiste. I will link to her shop down below, and this time I made this space themed belated birthday card. And without further ado, let's get into it. I started by stamping out all of my images onto Transotype Perfect coloring paper, and I'm using my Copic markers to color them in. As always, I'm adding the marker numbers on the top left of the screen so you can easily reference them if you would like to. And for the blues in my planets, I'm using B26, 23, and 21. I actually colored the top left planet in that combination, but I didn't really like it that much. So I'm just using a lot of the colorless blender to take down the color. And then I'm going over the top left planet with the same combination I'm using now, which is BG 18, 13, and 11, and a little bit of the BG quadruple 0. Again, using the same color combination for several little elements on other planets and also on the rocket ship or spaceship. I'm using RO2, RO1, R00, and R quadruple 0 for like a peachy, not really pink, but like a peach coral color on the planets, which I thought would go really well with the blues and the teals. And then I'm also bringing in some yellow, which is Y15, Y13, and Y11. Again, just picking some parts of the planets to alternate the colors. And I'm blending that out with Y000. And then I'm also bringing in some orange to add to the flame behind the rocket, and also to some of the planets. I'm starting with YR 14, then 12, 00, and I actually lost the sticker there for a second. 000 and quadruple 0. I wanted it to be slightly orange, but not like pumpkin orange. Then I'm using neutral grays to add to the spaceship and the spacesuit, the little astronaut. Starting with N5, then N3, N1, and N0. Just adding a little bit of shading around the spacesuit as well. And I had that in gray, but I didn't like it that much, so I decided to add some blue-greens to this. So I'm using BG 11 and BG quadruple 0, and also a little bit of the B21 for the helmet. Then I'm using E50 markers for the hair, E57, E55, and E53. E51, I'm sorry. And then for the skin tone, I'm using E04 as my darkest shade, blending that out with E11. I added some RB11 for some blush. Then blending that out with E00. And finally a 000. Adding a little bit more shading around the edges. A little bit more blush. And then I wanted to add some blue tones to the spacesuit, so I'm just adding a little bit of the BG 11 and BG quadruple 0. And then I die cut all the pieces for my box card. I die cut 3 panels, the back piece and the side pieces in white, and I'm ink blending that with salvaged patina, saltwater taffy, then squeezed lemonade oxide, and tumbled glass distress oxide. Just some dots all around the panel. And the rest of the box pieces I die cut from Blue Jay cardstock, which is a dark blue. Just adding random dots of color to fill up the entire panel. And then I die cut the same panel again from Blue Jay cardstock and ran that through with the, I think it's called a snowy backdrop, but I will leave it listed down below, to add some stars so that those colors just like a rainbow shines through the stars in the background. I really liked how that looked. Then I'm adding some inking to the starry panel with some black soot just to add a little bit of dimension. But I wasn't really happy with how that looked, so I added tumbled glass oxide in the center just to lighten it up. And then I'm bringing in some Blue Jay ink around the edges just to make it nice, rich, like deep blue. I also added the same kind of inking around the edges of the rest of the pieces so that they have some dimension as well. And then I'm just folding along all of the score lines. The dice that I'm using is by My Favorite Things, and it's the outside the box level up that has like the slanted edges. And I will also link to a video down below that I did a while back where I show you the exact measurements if you don't have the die set and you just want to use just regular cardstock and score it yourself, which you can totally do. So I will leave that linked below. And if I can figure out how to do it, I will also leave it in like a card up top. And now I'm just adding in some cloudy hills because I want it to be a space scene. I'm removing all the liner papers and just folding the card shut. To assemble the box, I'm adding the two panels on top of each other with liquid glue and doing the same for the side panels. And I really like this kind of rainbow galaxy look. Then I'm just gluing it into the box to cover up the flaps in the back. Sorry, my toweled head keeps popping in there. And then I used the same ink colors as I did on the background, and I added them to a sentiment strip. And then I'm just stamping the Sorry I Missed Your Birthday. And for the second part, which is my favorite, I'm heat embossing that onto one of the clouds that I wasn't going to use. And it reads, I didn't plan it that way, which I think is just too funny. Just using a brush to remove any stray bits of embossing powder. And then I'm just running over my heat tool until the powder is smooth and melted. Then I'm folding the banner, which is the fancy wavy banners from Lawn Fawn. And from this one, you can actually see the back, like a little bit of the back of one side. So just added a little bit of ink with whatever was left on my brush, using some reverse tweezers to hold it shut so it dries nicely. I didn't add any of the like starry background on the front of the card because I knew I would add like a full-size banner there. And I actually had to use two pairs of reverse tweezers because I was being stubborn. And then I'm just starting to add all of my images that I basically just dumped out. And I started by finding the placement for the rocket ship and the second part of the sentiment. First I just add the little sentiment strip to the front with liquid glue. And then I'm adding the little rocket for the spaceship. And then the second part of my sentiment, which that just cracks me up. Sorry, I missed your birthday. I didn't plan it that way. And I'm late with birthday cards a lot of the time, so usually I can make it in time, but I figured it couldn't hurt to have like a belated birthday card on hand. Which kind of defeats the purpose because if I have the card on hand, I could just send it in time, but I'm sure there will come a time when I need it. And I'm just adding the cute little planets. I added the one with the party hat up front. And then I'm just filling in the scene with the remaining planets that I colored, just using some reverse tweezers to hold them in place. And I really like this style of box card, which has like the slanted edges on the side, because it just makes it look really dimensional. Just adding in all the little planets as well. I added some gel pen details and stickles off camera, and that finishes off my card for today. I had so much fun making this, and the sentiment, it just cracks me up, and I really hope you like it. And I'll see you again with a new card making video next week. Until then, have an amazing day. Bye!